We have another international trade problem, this time involving a tariff. We have the world market right here, and we have the domestic market over here. Now, here's the supply and demand curves for the world market, and we have an equilibrium price of $5.25. Over here, we have the supply and demand curves for the domestic market, and we can see, well, here's where the equilibrium price would be, but the world market price is lower than the equilibrium price for the domestic market. And this country participates in international trade. So it's going to be the world price that is relevant here. Well, the price is determined again over here in the world market. We bring that over. So here's the world price right here. And at that price, the domestic producers are willing to produce 40 units. And domestic consumers willing to buy 360 units. So, how do consumers consume 360 units when there's only 40 being produced? Through trade. Okay, so that we call the difference between this point and this point. Those are imports. And how much are they importing? Well, they're importing the difference between 360 and 40, which is well, let me write it down there. Imports are 320. 360 minus 40. So 320 units are being imported by this particular country. Now the question says that this domestic country, this I think that's Zambia in the question I'm looking at, though you may have gotten a different one, a different scenario, different country, different goods, different numbers, but it's the same type of problem. It says they want to bring imports down from 320 to 80. So how are they going to bring imports down? Well, they're going to want to have suppliers produce more, right? If suppliers can increase production, that would help bring down imports. If they can bring demand or quantity demanded down, that would bring imports down. So how do you get producers to produce more, and how do you get demanders to buy less? You raise the price, right? A higher price will increase quantity supplied. It will decrease quantity demanded. And so that difference between quantity supplied and quantity demanded will be smaller. So how do they raise the price? Well, in this case, they impose a tariff, which is just a tax. So, first of all, we need to find which price will result in a difference between quantity demanded and quantity supplied of 80. That's what they're shooting for. So we just have to kind of eyeball it and make some calculations and find a price where that difference is 80. So you look at your graph, the one in you got a problem there, and you look at the graph and you find a spot where that difference is 80. So it takes a little bit of trial and error. Well, we'll draw in another price line. Let's say that's it. That's the price, all right? So it turns out that at this particular price, quantity supplied is increased to 160. while quantity demanded decreases. Well, let's put a little arrow. Decreases down to 240. So that works. 240 minus 160 is 80. So what is that magic price? Well, on the graph, it is 615. That's 615, and this is 525 as determined by the world market over here. And therefore, the tariff needs to be how much? The price needs to go up to 615 such that imports will fall to 80. Therefore, the tariff needs to be the difference between 615 and 525, which is 90 bucks. 90 bucks per unit. There you go. Now, the question goes on to ask, what will be total revenues from the tariff? Well, they're getting $90 per unit. And how many units are coming into the country? How many imports? There's 80. So total revenue is price times quantity equals 7,200.